that I'll try to promote discussion if it's possible. If you want to participate, yes. If no, we will discuss it at the end. So please let me share my screen right now. Oliver, have I shared my screen or not?
Not yet. So please go to share application.
Oliver, just give me one moment, please.
Of course. So we have a mini break.
Oliver, sorry.
Don't worry.
Can you see now? This.
Yes. Yes, thank you. We see the presentation.
Okay, thank you. So today I'll present you the educational system of Greece. I'm sure you all know where is Greece. It's the southeast of Europe. You can see here some indicative photos of Greece with Acropolis, blue and white houses in cyclides and traditional dance. So first of all, I'll give you some information, basic information about our country. The capital is Athens, and the official language is Greek. Greek students learn foreign languages, and the first one that they select to learn is the English. The second foreign language in Greece, usually our students prefer German or French. The main religion, according to the Constitution of Greece, is the Eastern Orthodox Church of Christ, but the Constitution of Greece, and more specifically the Article 3, says that supports the freedom of religion, which is unviolated. And this is one of the main characteristics of all members of the European Union. The type of government is parliamentary republic, and the Greece is independent since 1830. As I said before, Greece is located at the southeast of Europe. It's not a big country. You can see the area in square kilometers. But I think that the most important now to say is that we are on the crossroad of Europe, Asia, and Africa. And this has played a very important role in our history. Population, we have a decline since the last population census. Now we are approximately at, the population is estimated approximately at 10 million and 500,000. We are member, Greece is member of European Union from 1981, and our currency from 2001 is euro. As I said, Oliver, before, I'm coming from Mytilene, Lesbos Island, and the University of the Aegean. Before I present some information about the University of the Aegean, I'll show you some photos from Mytilene, Lesbos Island. I know that all you have heard about Lesbos Island and Moria Camp or Karatepe Camp. It's known that from 2015 in Greece, and more specifically in the Eastern Islands, we had some we have the massive flows of refugees. I'll tell you more information about refugee and education in Greece. But now, please, you can see these photos. The first one is from Molivos, a very well known area on Mytilene, and the second one is from Mytilene. the port of Mytilene. You can also see the fourth photograph is from the petrified forest, which is one of the unique petrified forests in the whole world. And if you come in Greece, I think on Lesbos Island, I think you will be. It will be very interesting to visit the petrified forest. Mytilene is also well known for ouzo, salty sardines, and olive oil production. The economy of our island is based mainly on olive oil production. And after presenting the area where I was born and I'm living now, I'll give you some information about the University of the Aegean. The University of the Aegean is a unique university because it's located on 6 different islands. We all know that most of the universities are located in 1 or 2 cities, but in this case, we can see from the map that the University of the Aegean is located on 6 different islands. But each department is located only on 1 island, on a separate island. So when a student is studying on Mytilene, he or she is studying on Mytilene and don't have to move on the other islands. We have an enhanced network system and telecommunications and communications. So the communication between the departments of the Aegean and the administrative staff is too easy for us. In the University of the Aegean, there are 6 schools, 18 undergraduate programs, 41 postgraduate programs, and 90 teaching and research laboratories. Some information about the schools and where they are. The School of Environment is located in Lesbos campus, is where Mytilene is actually. The Mytilene is capital of Lesbos Island. And 3 departments belong to the School of Environment: the Environment Department, the Department of Marine Sciences, and the Food and Science Nutrition. The Food and Science Nutrition Department is located on Limnos Island. Second, the School of Social Sciences. You can see here that it's comprised of 4 departments: social anthropology and history, geography, sociology, and cultural technology and communication. I belong to the Department of Geography and I teach there. Although I'm not a geographer, I teach geographers, students of geography, pedagogical courses, enabled to be able to be teachers in future. Business School is located on Chios Island, and it's comprised of 3 departments: business administration, shipping, trade and transport, tourism, economics, and management. The School of Sciences is located on Samos Island and is comprised of the 2 departments, mathematics and statistics. What I didn't say is that the departments are located on these islands, and it has to do with some historical aspects and elements. For example, Pythagoras, who was a mathematician, he was born on Samos Island. So you can see here that there was established the Department of Mathematics and Statistics. And the next School of Humanities is based on Rhodes Island. Primary Education, Preschool Education Department, and Mediterranean Studies Department. And finally, the School of Engineering. This school is not in one, located only in one island. We can see that it has 3 departments. Each one is on different islands: financial, management, engineering, information and communication systems engineering, and product and system design engineering. These are the 6 schools I presented to you. Now, Oliver, I don't know, this is a panoramic view of the university on Mytilene, Lesbos Island. Oliver, I don't know if it's easy for you to share the video, the promotional video.
I will do. Give me a second. I have to share my screen again.
So I have to stop sharing my screen?
Could you see and could you hear the video?
No, just.
Oh, I get a yes. Then okay. Then I can.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Oliver. Now you can see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet, but I will do it right now. Sorry. Yeah. Now?
Now yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we would be very happy to welcome you in future on Lesbos Island and the University of the Aegean. I think Erasmus program always help students in their mobility studies or trainship. You can have more information if you want about the University of the Aegean from its website, or you can contact me or Oliver probably to help you in contact me and to ask more information if you need it in future. So I will move on the next slide, and I'll start actually my presentation about the national education system of Greece. I'll start from the legal basis of the education in Greece. As you can see, one of the first words in this slide is the Constitution of Greece. According to the Constitution of Greece, it was voted and is invalid from 1975. And according to the Article 16, education in Greece constitutes the basic mission of the state, and it shall aim at the moral, intellectual, professional, and physical training of Greeks, the development of national and religious consciences, and their formation as free and responsive citizens. We can see here that a holistic approach in the aim, I mean that their development in many areas, moral, intellectual, professional, physical, national, and religious, and we cannot see them out of the socio-political and historical context. Don't forget that the Greece was under the Ottoman Empire for 4 centuries before 1830, when it became independent. 2 world wars, civil war, and many other problems. So the aim of education cannot be seen out of the historical context. According to the Constitution of Greece, the number of years of compulsory education cannot be less than 9 years. I have to say that right now the years of compulsory education in Greece are 11. 2 in preschool education, 6 in primary education, and 3 in secondary education. All Greeks are entitled to free education on all educational levels at state institutions. That means that all Greeks they can attend education free of charge. They don't pay tuition fees, they don't pay books on all education level, but only in public institutions. Also, the state shall support financially outstanding students and those in need. And here we can see an inclusive approach. And this is also very important, and I'll talk about that in the next slides. So here we can see the Article 16 and the 4 basic sub-articles of it, and we can see what I said before. And the main points here, the important points, is that our education is compulsory no less than 9 years. It's free of charge, and all Greeks are entitled to it at public institutions. Here we can see that the Greek education system is a highly centralized system. I don't know if somebody knows what we mean. Probably you know, or if you can imagine what we mean when we say that an education system is highly centralized system. I don't know if somebody knows, or if somebody can participate right now in a discussion about centralized systems, what they mean. But if not, I can explain. Oliver?
There are no reactions in the chat at the moment. Is somebody interested to answer this question?
Doesn't it mean
Annelies.
Yes, doesn't it mean that like the government has a lot of say in what is being taught and how it's structured? Like they choose, well, in very high generalized systems, it means that they choose the books and the curriculum and all that kind of stuff, and they work with central exams.
Actually, what it means, yes, is that they're a centralized system from the government. I don't know if you mean the same thing what I'm saying now, that the government is the one who decides on many decisions.
Yes, that was what I meant actually.
Yeah. So that means that the government and the Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs, which is responsible for the education of Greek, has under its responsibility and supervision a lot of things that concern education in Greece. According to OECD research, 18% of the decisions are adopted, concerned the education, are adopted from the Ministry of Education. It's governmental. That means that the schools has less autonomy. And this is a very important element right now, that the schools have less autonomy and our education system is highly centralized. The average of the 35, although the 80% of the decisions in Greece is made by the government, the average for other OECD countries is the 35%. That means that we have a highly centralized system. And we will see it in the next slides how many decisions about teacher training, books, curricula, etc. are adopted from the Ministry of Education. The Greek education system is divided into three main levels. I think the same is for many other countries. The first one is the primary level of education, the second one is the secondary, and the third one is tertiary level of education. Here we can see the three levels, the structure actually of the educational system. In the primary education level, we have two sub areas: the preschool education, which starts at the age of 4 till 6 years old. It means that it's preschool and kindergarten, and it's compulsory in Greece. And the primary education, which is from 6 to 12 years old, and it's 6 years, 6 grades. Then the secondary education has the first 3 years is lower secondary schools, and only students from 12 to 15 can attend it, and then they move, if they want, to the high secondary schools from the age of 15 to 18. The last one, the high secondary education, is optional, but till the lower secondary education, till the age of 15 years old, the students should attend the educational classes. That means that the education till the 15th year of their life is compulsory. And then if they wish and if they sit for exams, they can move to tertiary education. Of course, there is another level between secondary and tertiary education. You all know that the post-secondary education institutes more practical issues, vocational institute, etc., etc. But the three main levels are those: primary, secondary, and tertiary. As for primary education, it's from 6 to 12 years. Primary schools, model and experimental primary schools, and multicultural primary schools can be found in Greece. Just to say that model and experimental primary schools are schools that in that schools we promote innovations. They cooperate with universities. It's an ideal environment for practices for undergraduate and postgraduate students. And we implement, the government implement pilot testings, programs, curriculums, etc., etc. And special education, primary schools for students with special needs. When we move to secondary education, which is also compulsory till the age of 15, we can see a wider range of secondary schools. The general lower secondary school, most students attend classes at the general lower secondary schools. There is the evening lower secondary school. It's for students that they work, so they attend in evening the school. The model and experimental schools, music schools, art schools, multicultural, and schools for students with special needs. And then we move in higher secondary education. It's optional, as I said before. It's the general. Here we can find also a wide range of schools: general higher education school, general evening high school for students that work, model and experimental, music high school, arts high school, multicultural, and a special vocational education and training institution. In the photo, we can see the model and experimental high school in Mytilene. And when students decide to move in high secondary education, if they don't select to move to one of these schools, they can, if they want, they can attend vocational secondary education in vocational high schools, evening high schools, or vocational training schools. And then higher education comes if students wishes to study in a higher education institution. They have to sit for exams, the Pan-Hellenic examination or national examination at the end of the third class grade in high after the high secondary education. They sit there for the exams in the mid of June, and they move to higher education if they succeed. In higher education, we can find also universities, technological educational institutes, the School of Pedagogical and Technological Education, ASPETE, as it's called in Greece, School of Fine Arts, and the Hellenic Open University, which has adopted distance education. Distance education was not allowed for other universities except for Hellenic Open University, but now adopted because of the coronavirus. Some information about examinations. Pupils in secondary education students take exams in a branch of subjects at the end of each school years. These subjects are specific subjects, mostly are linguistics, Greek literature, reading and writing, math, science, and biology, and biologies and science actually subjects, and English. Students wishing to enter the higher education, as I said before, they sit for the Pan-Hellenic examination at the end of the third class in high school. Some numbers, key numbers from the Hellenic Statistical Authority. These numbers are from 2018-2019 school year. We can see the number of schools, teaching staff, students, and the students and teacher ratio. I'll not read them each one, but as we can see here, we have, of course, more teaching staff in primary education. Their primary education is 6 years, so it's logical that we have more teaching staff there and students, as we see. In in secondary education, we can see that the number of schools are more for lower secondary education than the upper secondary education. That's also logical because we know that lower secondary education is compulsory in Greece. Teaching staff also are more in lower secondary education, as the students also, as we can see. And here's some more key numbers. We can see the dropout rate in Greece in 2014-2015 was less than 10%. This is very important because it's one of the it's below the average in European countries. I think so. It's in OECD countries, so that's also very important for us. Literacy rate is too high. That's also a very good news for Greece. For 2018, it was 97.4%, and it had an increase from 2011. The enrollment rate also in 2018 was too high. It was approximately 94%, and for secondary education, and 98.2% for primary education. That's also very good for the Greek system, that we have high rates of enrollment in secondary and primary education, and the literacy rate is too high also. Some more information about curriculum. I'll start with primary education. Here you can see the primary education subjects. In the first grades, A, B, most focus is on writing. The system pays more attention on writing, reading, and arithmetic. Of course, they have physical education lessons, and then more subjects are added as we move forward. So art, science, English, second foreign language, geography, history, informatics, and religious education. Second foreign language starts in the 5th grade in primary education and continues in secondary education. And the students usually have to select between French or German. If it's a big school, if it has many students, then both languages are provided. If not, students have to vote which language they prefer, and usually they have they select one language, French or German. And as we move on secondary education, more subjects are added, and the subjects are added are ancient Greek, biology, chemistry, science and technology, physics, economics, home economics, and social and political education. These subjects are not all the subjects are added in the same grade. For example, economics are added in the high school. Social and political education, it's added in the lower secondary education, as well as home economics. The other lessons remain till the end of their education and secondary education. As for the structure of the year, school year for primary and secondary education in Greece starts at 10th of September and ends in the mid of June. Actually, we have 2 weeks vacations in Christmas time. We are 2 weeks off in Christmas time and 2 weeks off in Easter time. We are now on Easter time. We are on vacations. And we have also 3 months off in summertime. Climate, sun and high temperatures lead to these decisions. It's not something new. We have this structure of the school years many years ago. Let's move on and see some information about the school day and the school week, which the structure of them. The school week is comprised actually of 5 days, Monday till Friday. Primary school, the school day for primary school starts at 8 o'clock and finishes at 1:15. But there is also the possibility for students to attend the all-day school. It's oloimer, as we say it in Greece. It starts from 7 to 8 until 3 to 4. Actually, is for children that they have parents that both parents work too early in the morning. And in secondary education, the days for school remains the same, Monday till Friday. The school day for secondary school starts at 8 o'clock and finishes at 1:15 or 1:40. Actually, it's approximately till the 2 o'clock. And the hours per week are 32, and they cannot exceed the 40 hours in some cases. For example, model and experimental schools or music schools, they have some more hours than the 32 hours, but according to the legislation, they cannot exceed the 40 hours per week. The curriculum and the timetable, they are drawn by the Institute of Educational Policy in Greece. This institute proposes on the curricula of primary and secondary education, the school textbooks and other teaching material. What we can see here is that I added this the logo of the institute just to show you some more information. What we can see here is that before the title of the institute, we can see that the title of the Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs. And what we can see here is that the institute actually is under the umbrella of the Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs. That means that also a governmental it takes and gives directions. There are directions between the two sectors. I mean, Ministry and Institute of Educational Policy. That means means that the system is highly centralized. It's what I said before, that this is, we can see here that the Institute of Educational Policy that proposes on the curricula of primary and secondary education, on school textbooks, on other teaching materials, all are adopted and decided by the Institute of Educational Policy and the Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs. Actually, the institute belongs to the ministry. It's under the umbrella of Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs. So that's the sign, one of the signs we have here that show us the centralized system. Now, who decides what's taught in school? As I said before, the Institute of Educational Policy, it's a scientific agency. The president, the head, and the vice head of this agency are experts, are academicians, and their subject area is education, as you can understand. This scientific agency supports the Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs on issues regarding all sectors of education, teacher training, student dropout, and early school leaving. It has also a wide range of responsibilities. It issues opinion on educational policy, on teaching material, or proposes didactical methodological approaches to teachers and schools. Also supports the operation of Greek schools abroad, make proposals on teacher initial or in-service training, designs and implements activities and actions in education. Last year, just tell you my personal experience. Last year, in the Department of Geography, we organized a competition, a pan-Hellenic competition, arts competition for students in Greece. We had to complete a lot of papers, a lot of forms. These forms were on the site of education of Institute of Educational Policy. We found them and we completed them. And after that, we had to send them to the ministry, and the ministry had the first look and then sent it to the Institute of Educational Policy to accept them. We couldn't, as university, announce this competition before having the acceptance, the approval of the Institute of Educational Policy. And when we wanted to expand the deadlines of this competition before of coronavirus, because schools were closed, so we gave an expansion the deadline. We had also to take the approval from the ministry. So here you can see what I meant before, that we are highly centralized from major to minor decisions. For example, the expansion of the deadline was not a major problem, probably due to the COVID-19 developments, but the first decision was made from the Institute of Educational Policy, so according to the legislation and the rules we follow, and the second one should be done by them. That was an example for one example of the approval we need for Institute of Educational Policy. Also, PhD students. When I was a PhD student, we had to, if we want to conduct research in schools, we had to have before the approval of the Institute of Educational Policy. We had to send the questionnaires, the survey, the research design, as to check that everything is okay before we enter the school. So, as I said before, this institute operates under the umbrella of the Ministry of Education. Now the curriculum, they consist the guides for teachers in their work. They set objectives for each subjects. We can see here that the curricula which are designed by the Institute of Educational Policy, they set the objectives of each subjects, and they are aligned. These objectives are aligned in the curricula with the general and specific objectives in Greek education. Also, the curriculum proposed didactical approaches. The decision of which didactical approach will be implemented is the decision that will be made by the teacher. The teacher has the freedom to select more material than the one is given from the Ministry and the Institute of Educational Policy. It has we all have freedom to teach in the way we want to teach and to select different didactical approaches according to the subject or the objectives, but the general objectives of the lessons, the general objectives of the curriculums are set by the Ministry and the Institute of Educational Policy. That's what I mean, that this is an element also that shows us that Greek schools have less autonomy. Okay. And if you are interested, didactical approaches that are proposed mostly are those who help students to be energetic in learning, investigation, visits to environment, demonstrations, discussion, and teamwork. Subjects are compulsory both in primary and secondary education. Subjects are compulsory for all students of the same grade, except from the second foreign language. Official language of instruction is Greek. And our curriculum, as you can see here, I don't know if you can recognize this schema. It's the one that Bruna has introduced, is the spiral curriculum. That means that Greek students revisit the material, the thematics from one class to another, and they revisit it and work on it in depth. Okay. It's not just a simple repetition, as you can understand, but we revisit again and again through the curriculum the same thematics, but the thematics, those thematics are with new material adjusted to the developmental level of pupils and students. So now, who funds the schools? Who funds education in Greece? I remind you the first slide. The first slide is about the national educational system. I said that according to the constitution, the Greek constitution, the education is provided free on all three levels of education. That means that it's funded by the state. It's funded through the state budget, and the state budget is the ordinary budget that covering operating expenses, and the public investment budget that finances the public investment program. It focuses more on how you say it, buildings, how they build schools, etc., from this public investment budget. And it's both from national and EU resources. And as we can see here, the public expenditure on education in the year 2020. As we can see here, we can see the ordinary budget, and we can see the public investment. And when you see below the co-finance, we can see that in public investment, more a budget is the one which belongs to the co-financed ones, and usually is from EU, European Union resources. In Greece, we don't have only public schools, although we have we are all entitled to free education, but if students and parents want to attend private school, they can of course attend private schools. We have private schools in Greece, but private schools belong attained by natural or legal persons or association of persons or legal entities. What's real important here to note that their operation and the license they take in order to operate, they are both approved by the Ministry of Education according to our national legislation. That means that they follow the Greek national curriculum. They may have additional activities, but they do not exceed the 40 hours per week. Also, private schools award certificates equivalent to the public schools. Some good news is that we have a new reformation in Greek education. The very, very recent law in 2020 established the internal self-evaluation and the external evaluation for primary and secondary education schools. Till now, we didn't have self-evaluation, internal evaluation in Greek schools, and external evaluation was based mostly on research and some pilot testings. But now the new law, the 2020, promotes the internal and external evaluation for primary and secondary school. That means that we will have new data in the next years that will let the government, I mean, in decisions, new decisions probably, and this data, of course, will probably help policymakers in the education sector. The purpose of the internal and external evaluation process is the continuous improvement of the educational works delivered at school level. The most important here is to note that the evaluation criteria of teachers are the pedagogical, didactic, and as well their service competence. And now I'll present you some information about teachers training. I think it's, as Oliver said me, this is a very important element because you are future teachers, so probably you are interested in listening what happens in Greece about teacher training, initial or in service. Let's start from primary education, teacher initial training. Teachers working in primary or secondary education should be graduates of higher education, holding at least a first cycle degree, a bachelor, which in Greece 4 years, not 3 years, 4 years in Greece. They have to attend a primary or secondary department, a primary or preschool education department. So kindergarten teachers are graduates from preschool education department at higher education institutions, universities, and the primary school teachers are graduates from the primary education departments, also at higher institutions. They all have a degree from university, a 4 years degree, after a 4 years attendance. Teachers in secondary education, the things here are a little bit different. They are graduates also from higher education departments of their specialty. That means that a musician, of course, has attended a music department of education in university, other Greek literature, chemistry, maths, physics, etc. But if they want to be teachers, I mean, someone may be mathematician, but if they want to teach maths in schools, they have to attend a branch of pedagogical courses decided by the university. And this happens during the first cycle of studies now. In the past, not, but in now, all universities take the decision, make the decision about how many, this is a decision that it's made by the university, how many and which lessons should a future teacher attend and have success in the exams in order to have the certificate that they have received the pedagogical training, so they have the certificate to be teachers in future. So in department, for example, of geography, where I teach, we have three groups of courses. The first group is educational psychology. I teach it, and ICT in teaching geography. Students have to choose at least one of them. The second group of courses is general didactics, and it has practices in schools. The third group of courses is education in teaching geography, also with practices in school, or they have the alternative to write a thesis, to conduct research in school and write a thesis under my supervision. If they don't attend this branch of pedagogical courses, they will not obtain the certificate for teachers. But if they want to do it in future, they also have the possibility to attend 1 year at the School of Pedagogical and Technological Education for 1 year, to attend a branch of pedagogical courses for 1 year and obtain the certificate of pedagogical, that they have the pedagogical training. Alternatively, they can also have a master or PhD in education studies. Just to mention that the Institute of Educational Policy, as I said before, plays a vital and important role in teacher training, because it issues opinions on a lot of things, such as planning the national strategy for teaching training, arranging publicity events for promotion, teacher training, certifying training institutions, etc., etc. Also developing and implementing training programs and actions. Now, how they start work in schools. Actually, it's not too easy to do it. Now we have Greece had frozen for some years the calls, but teacher recruitment is covered by the Supreme Council for Civil Personnel Selection, the ASEP, as we call it in Greece. It's an independent authority responsible for securing the faithful implementation of the provisions on public sector staff recruitment, including educators also. So, a public teacher is covered with staff recruitments carried out by this council, and it's based on the criterion of priority. Most qualified candidates are those who probably don't have only the bachelor degree, but also they probably have a master degree, a PhD degree, or they take into account if they speak 2 languages or 1, and if they have the B2 or the C2, I mean proficiency or first certificate in English. So all the qualifications, these play a vital role, an important role for candidates. That's why many of them try to have as many qualifications as they can in order to enhance their CV and to be able to be recruited in education. Students who have finished their studies in abroad, they also should have the confirmation of equivalence and correspondence with their respective degrees of home diplomas. That means that if I had studied, for example, in Leuven, and I wanted to teach in Greece, I have to have the confirmation of the equivalence and the correspondence with the degree in home in Greece. If one student do it for one time, it remains for the others. If not, The first one has to follow a bureaucratic process, a heavy bureaucratic process. Some more information about teachers in Greece. As you all know, we had very severe cuts in finance. We had financial crisis from 2009 2015, and memoranda were signed by our governments, and the teacher salaries have been falling almost at 30%, while average salaries across OECD countries increased by up to 13%. This is very important, that the Greek teachers' salaries have been falling. They have high salaries, and if they have to move to teach in different areas in the same town, or if they have to move in a remote area, it's difficult because the salaries do not change, they remain the same. So I think here it's a very interesting slide, because we can see a graphic which gives us much information about main challenges in teacher demand and supply in lower secondary education. You can see Greece is not with GR, it's with EL. You can see the first arrow that shows Greece, and the second one is in Belgium. Oliver, I'm not sure if this is the Flemish NL, if it's the Flemish community. Is it?
It's very small, but if I read it correct, it means NL after the BE, so it should be the Flemish community, yes.
Okay, that's good. So we can see that the first cycle is when it's blue, it means shortages. When it's the second one is oversupply, and the red is shortages and oversupply. As you can see, in Greece, we have shortages and oversupply. This is a little bit contradictory, but I'll explain what that means. That means that we have shortages of teachers. That means that probably shortages are in some areas, and probably to some remote areas or low inhabited islands. And we have also oversupply due to the freeze of recruitment. What that means? That from 2009 to 2015, there was I'm not sure if it's for all years, but we had the government had frozen the calls for teacher recruitment. That means teacher hiring. That means that now we have a lot of probably highly qualified, but surely qualified teachers that are waiting for new calls and their appointment to teacher positions. That's why we have oversupply. On the other aspect, we can see that we have shortage. What that means, how we can explain it? When the government announce calls, that means that they say which are free positions. Probably free positions on low inhabited islands or remote areas are not preferred by teachers. So that's why some teachers do not take the decision to move to other remote areas, because they want to be with family in their areas, they have homes, etc., houses, etc., etc. This is the very important element. So that's why Greece shows that in red, shortages and oversupply. At the same time, we can see that the Greek teacher population is aging. They're not too young, our teachers. So this is a very important element, because we can see here that we have both aging and shortages. This is a food for thought for policy makers. On the other side, we can see that it's important to see that in Belgium, in Flemish community, you have young teachers, you don't have aging teacher population, but also you have shortages. That means probably in specific subjects, I don't know, but this is important. Also, probably that seems the shortage may show that also not only shortages, but you can see also another sign, that teachers drop out and IT shortages for Belgium, not for Greece, for Belgium and the Flemish community. That means that maybe you have teacher dropouts, or ITE means initial teacher education shortages. Probably not many students prefer to start their education training as teachers, to have initial training, teacher training. That means, is the teacher profession attractive now? This is a question that we could discuss later. And one more here, map that shows that in Greece and in Belgium we can see that the employment. We can see here the employment status of fully qualified teachers in lower secondary education. They are civil servants. They are civil servants. The red in the map. This is the explanatory note. But one of the most important thing we can see here is the conclusion of the European Council about European teachers. On 26th of May in 2020. The European Union Council made some conclusions, and it's important to stay. I have just marked some ones, and we can see that they recognize that teachers and trainers are an indispensable driving force of education and training, and that they have a crucial role in preparing individuals of all backgrounds and ages. Also, it's important that European Council recognize that European teachers and trainers are the cornerstones of the European education area, because they support learners in understanding and experiencing the sense of European identity and belonging. This is what recognized, of course, is one of the recognitions of the Council, but also it says that they are aware that in school education there are difficulties related to attracting and retaining high potential students in initial teacher education. It's not only a problem in Greece, it's a European problem right now. And it's also a European challenge and problem that the teaching population is aging. And also, we can see that there are shortages of teachers in many member states of European Union. And there are shortages of teachers with competencies for teaching students with special needs, teaching in multicultural or multilingual settings, and teaching students from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds. So we can see here what says the conclusion of the Council, European Council conclusions. And here we have to think now that how can we enhance the status of the European teachers? I don't know, Oliver, if we can discuss it now or if students want to keep it for after my presentation.
Vana, may I suggest, because it's already 7:30 Belgian time, that we continue with your presentation and we take this question with us to the discussion afterwards.
Okay. Oliver, if the time is over, I can stop or I can move more quickly.
Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So as for our national policy agenda, as I said before, we have the recent law in 2020. It focused on 3 principal axes for school upgrading. One of them is the reform of school curricula and targeted interventions to reinforce the educational work in schools. The other one is it has to do with higher education, so let it off right now. And the recent law introduces the pilot introduction of English language in kindergartens, the enhancement of instruction of computer sciences, the expansion of methods for assessing student progress. For example, they pay too much attention in research projects. The establishment of an item bank in higher secondary education with items of greater difficulty, and it's strengthening model and experimental schools and introduction of the school life counselor. Also, the good news are for vocational education and training and lifelong learning. It's a holistic reform, actually, and the most important here, I'll not read all the slides. You see after. What we can see here is that this law tries to this holistic reform of vocational education and training to be aligned with the European qualifications framework. So, some other issues in Greek education. As I said before, from 2009 to 2015, Greece faced financial crisis and national debt was a reality. That means that we had many changes in our lives, in everyday lives, and many sectors of our everyday lives. And of course, this crisis had a very high impact in the education sector. We had severe cuts in education. We had resource limits, freeze of teachers' hiring, cuts in teachers' salaries, and hiring teachers with short-term contracts. Actually, most of them were approximately 8-month contracts. Let's keep one more question. If this had a negative impact. Just to give you one information that according to the PISA results, seems that in 2015 the average student performance in Greece has declined, and almost 1 out of 3 students in Greece did not reach the PISA baseline level of performance in science, and similar proportions of low performance was in numeracy and literacy. But we have other indicators that show more positive trends and demonstrate the capacity of our education system to perform in terms of equity, attainment in tertiary education, and high student motivation. So this probably could be one impact, negative impact. Other issues we had during the last years, from 2015 to 2017, massive refugee flows to Greece. In 2015, it's estimated that approximately 1 million refugees came in Greece. This created new challenges in education. For example, from October 2019, more recent data, in Greece there were 37 of refugee and migrant children, among whom almost 4,686 were unaccompanied. And this information is derived from the Asylum Information Database. The total number of refugees in Greek schools, according to the data from the site of our ministry, is 12,867. You can see here the big difference in the two numbers. 37,000 children that should attend the formal education in Greece, and only approximately 13,000 they were enrolled in Greek schools 2 years before. And the most interesting element is that, according to the Deputy Minister of Education, in December 2019, the number of children enrolled in formal education during the next school, the 2019-2020, was 8,000. That means that we had 5,000 children less than the previous school year. And this is an important element and situation, because the access to education, we all know that it's not a privilege, it's a right of children. Oliver, I don't here we have some. I can show. I'm showing you some photos from Moria camp before fire, because you know Moria camp is not exist now because it got fired some months ago, and now children and families have moved to Karatepe and other camps. And we can see here from the photos some initiatives in camps from non-profit organizations that help children in learning and playing. Oliver, I don't know if we have 5 minutes to, it's only 2 minutes, I think only 2 minutes. If you can share this video, it is some refugee children from Halkida that they attend school. Is it easy to do it?
I will share it now.
Okay, so I stop sharing my screen?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you.
The European Commission is helping the Greek authorities to facilitate access to education for refugee children in Greece. To that end, the Commission is financing the International Organization for Migration to ensure safe transportation of children to schools and the distribution of school materials to students.
صار لي 5 شهور بدراسة. مبسوطة كثير إنه راما تروح على المدرسة وتعلم شوي. راما كانت الصف الأول بسوريا، للأسف ما كملت دراستها لأنه صارت حرب. الحمد لله جينا لهون صارت تابعوا دراستها.
أنا اسمي راما برا، أنا عمري 11 سنة، بروح على المدرسة الابتدائية الخلكية. أحلى درس عندي في أتعلم مع المدرسة اليونانية. أنا بحب على المدرسة وكل يوم أروح على المدرسة وإن شاء الله راح أصير دكتورة.
Education. After health, the most vital issue for human beings, especially for the kids. There is no excuse for a child not to go to school and to stop the education at any time. That's why from the very first time I am in Greece, together with the Ministry of Education, made sure that these children will continue their education wherever they're going. They're going to another European country, going back home, and they're going to stay in Greece. We are very glad and we are very happy that the training program finally was very successful, and we hope that we continue with the next period.
أنا دي ثريا تسرة كنت إكسي إفتا أخطاء إني ذكر. أنا اسمي سيدرا، عمري 12 سنة، عم بروح على المدرسة، مدرسة خلكيزة. أكتر شي هون الإنجليزي. لما أكبر بدي أشتغل صيدلية.
Bravo! Thank you, Oliver. Thank you. They were singing in Greek, and I'll share also. I'll share again my screen. Oliver, I'm sure you can see now the photos and my screen, my PowerPoint.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. And before finalizing, let me read, as reported by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, there are significant constraints for children to access formal education, and only a limited number of children seeking protection residing in the RICS attend public schools on the islands. As of 30th June of 2018, the 1,625 children residing in Moria on Lesbos have no access to formal education. In August 2018, out of the total number of school-aged children on the islands, only 1 in 4 had access to public education. This information is derived from the Asylum Information Database. The most important problems we faced in education were problems due to the inexperience of the teachers that were appointed to teach to refugee children. Don't forget that refugee children do not speak Greek, so they had our teachers had no training and experience in teaching children coming from different cultural environments. Also, some difficulties and conflicts in cases where junior high school aged children attend primary school classes, often making students to drop out. Some students didn't have papers with them when they came from Syria and other countries. And according to their parents declared the age. So in some cases, probably some teenagers wanted to attend primary school classes, and some difficulties occurred. Also some difficulties in transportation, especially for children that were living in the camps. Fluctuation also in the rate of attendance. They were not always in the same camps, or in the same houses of residence, so they had problems in attending schools. Don't also forget that Mytilene has a restricted number of schools. There is a specific number of schools and teachers, so the number of children living in Moria and other camps were too high. The basic elements here, the basic facts. The facts are that, as I said before, we have a highly centralized system, less autonomy in schools. Also, Sando education is widespread. That means that Greek students have the tendency to pay tutors in afternoon and help them in their courses. Especially they do it when they want to enter higher education system. They attend tutoring after school. They are below the average in PISA Global Education Survey, but the most important points is, and the good news is that, as I had before, the Greek education system demonstrates a low rate of dropouts of students. We have motivated 15 years old with strong sense of school belonging. This is also a very important element. We have high enrollment and literacy ratios. Educational system promote inclusion, take care of students that are in need or outstanding students, and it seems that the Greek education system listens to follows the European Commission directions, listen to the needs, and proceeds to new information, as the last one we saw in 2020. I think this proposal is going to be, Oliver, can be discussed after the break.
Good idea.
So thank you very much. I know I exceeded the time you gave me, Oliver. I really apologize for that.
Please don't.
Do you want me to stop sharing my screen or not?
You can, Vana, you can leave it. Just a second. Yeah. First of all, Vana, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. Indeed, it is nearly 8 o'clock Belgian time, 9 o'clock Greek time. I would suggest that we have a break here, that we have 10 minutes break now, and that we continue with questions, comments, and whatever you want to say about it after the break. And so it is now 19:53, so let's say we start again 5 minutes past 8. So have something to eat, something to drink. Vana, thanks a lot, and see you in 12 minutes.
You're welcome. I thank you, Oliver. I thank you.